You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our second half of our show, Ask the Master Auto Technician. I've got Scott Hobbs calling all the way from Mr. Rooter on East Avenue over there. Scott, how long have y'all been in this location that you're at?
On East Avenue or in Bay County?
No, on East Avenue. You've only been there a few years on East Avenue, but in Bay County you've been here, what, 50 years?
Since 1973, so is that 43 years?
Yeah, that's a long... That was when I was a junior in high school.
Right. Well, I was more junior than that.
I was a junior in high school in 1973, going into my 12th grade senior year, graduating in 74. So y'all been around a long time. What are you, third generation or second generation plumbing?
I'm third generation. My grandfather was a plumber, but not in the plumbing business.
He was a plumber, but not in the plumbing business. Okay.
That's right.
He must have been in the Navy, because everyone in the Navy is a plumber.
right.
That's probably not true, but go ahead.
Sure. We've been over on East Avenue since, I think, 2005. And when we built that facility, we said, there's no way we'll ever outgrow this. But we're outgrowing.
That's what because I drove by there the other day, and your trucks are just everywhere, and there's, parking is becoming a minimum now.
It is.
Yeah, because you just keep growing. You all just keep getting busier and busier and busier. And I guess that's because you get a lot of reviews online. People like the service you're doing. They like how you address the problem and you make sure things are fixed or tell them what the customer's going to spend before you spend the money or do the work. That's what I'm reading in a lot of your reviews online.
Great.
Anything you want to add to that about what customers expect from y'all and what y'all are doing?
Well, I do know, I watch the numbers closely, and over 70% of every call that comes in is a repeat customer. So, less than 30% are new customers.
Right.
And of course, our goal is for them, the best compliment is for them to call us back, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. What seems to be the biggest problem this time of year? It's heat. I mean, you're not worried about things freezing, of course, because it's summertime. But what seems to be the biggest call y'all get to say, hey, come to my house, I have this wrong? What is that?
It's a year-round thing, and we have other tasks that are more seasonal, but it's very common. Kitchen sink stoppages, wash machine stoppages. They're just very, very common. There's just always an abundance of those, year-round. This time of the year, like you said, you don't have the freeze issues. The tree roots are not growing the way they normally do in the fall. So you don't have as many of the main line stoppages from the house to the street. But the kitchen sink stoppages, people are here on vacation, or they have house guests, so their systems are becoming overtaxed. And what was maybe a problem is really a big problem now that they have a house full of people.
Now, I just found out, I shouldn't say just found out, by having you on the show, I never realized that if you have a septic tank, you really shouldn't have a garbage disposal. I'm serious. I always thought that, garbage disposal, everyone had it. It's not a big deal. But you explained to me, if you take raw food and go down the sink into a septic tank, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. It's not going to break down. It's actually going to cause problems. And I had no idea about that. Could you explain to people a little bit more detail what happens if you don't have food, if you have raw food go down into your septic tank?
Sure. Well, my personal opinion on garbage disposals is garbage should go in the garbage or be recycled or composted. If you can do that, it's a great thing. I don't put a garbage disposal in my house, even on the city service. I just think garbage should go in the garbage. But what happens is the particles are broken down so finely. A lot of times they'll float. Vegetables have a tendency to want to float. Things like that will float. And those particles will not digest. A septic tank is kind of like your stomach. It has, in your intestines, it'll digest the food or the waste that is in there, but it will not digest undigested food. So that will have a tendency to get into your system, clog it up, and possibly even get into your drain field and cause premature failure for that as well.
I guess because it floats, it goes in there and doesn't break down, and it actually clogs up your drain field and possibly your inlet to your septic tank, because all that's floating and it'll sit there and block up the entrance to it. Is that what you're saying will happen to it?
Oh, absolutely. It just wreaks havoc. It's just not a good thing, and folks have a tendency to like I say, put more down in garbage disposal than they should. You know, they put potato peels, orange peels, pasta, rice, all those things down in garbage disposal, thinking that it'll just emasculate anything that it gets a hold of, but that's not the case.
It's not the case. I remember when I was in the Navy, they told us never to flush anything down the toilet that we didn't eat first. And
That's right.
And I guess that's the rule of thumb too when it comes to septic tanks or comes to your garbage or your drain fields out there, is don't put anything down the toilet or down the sink that you didn't eat first, so to speak.
Right.
You know.
And that's really a good rule of thumb for a plumbing system, whether you're on septic or city.
Now, this bio choice that you sell, that's something y'all, it's preventive maintenance. It's kind of like putting an additive in your gas tank to keep the water and fuel from separating. They keep it emulsified. You know, water and gasoline will, if you put it in a gas tank, will stratify. Well, septic tanks do the same thing, if I'm not mistaken. They stratify. You've got the solids that go to the bottom, and the lighter stuff goes to the top. And this bio choice, this biodegradable enzyme that's kind of like kind of like yogurt. If we eat yogurt, it promotes the good bacteria. That does the same thing in your septic tank. It promotes the good bacteria to destroy all the food that's gotten passed through, or all the waste, and allows it to be broken down into harmless matter. Is that a good description of what it's talking about?
Yeah, sure. It's actually a friendly bacteria, and for something to break down and digest, it has to have good bacteria. Just like in, as you mentioned, the probiotics in your system, in your body, you have to have those good bacteria. So there's so many things that we introduce to a plumbing system. The antibacterial soaps. We take antibiotics when we're ill. Those pass through our system. All those things kill bacteria. Chlorine or Clorox, the chlorine in your water, if you're on city water, all those things kill the good bacteria. So we have to continue to introduce friendly bacteria, so all those things do digest, as we mentioned, in that septic system.
So that's the advantage of using this on city water, is if you have city sewer or city water, it actually helps cause the chlorine and fluoride and halicylic acid, all those things that purify our water, actually do a pretty good job of destroying the good bacteria that's in our sewer system. Is that what you say on that?
Sure, and I'll tell you something else that folks don't think about. I did mention the antibodies that you take orally, but if you have a water softener, that salt kills bacteria as well.
I didn't think about that. You're absolutely right. It kills bacteria. That's because I have a water softener on our house, and that is one of the things you say. I had no idea that salt would kill bacteria, but it does. I mean, bacteria doesn't do very well in a salty environment. Doesn't promote it. I didn't think about that. So if you live in the city and have regular sewer water and you have city water, you still need to use something as a probiotic to help assist break down the fats and oils that attach to the walls as it's going to the city, as it's going to the drain on the street. And on the sewer system, septic tank system, you need it even more, because you may be introducing gray water from washing machines that has soap and Clorox in it, or chlorine in it. And you may be introducing things from maybe when you're sick from antibiotics that you've taken, and that effect goes into the system and destroys the good bacteria. So that's pretty good advice for people out there. And this pro-choice is something that you sell. Is it an exclusive thing that y'all sell at Mr. Rooter?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's produced for us. It's a special formula for the Mr. Rooter. Mr. Rooter is a worldwide company, so this company produces this exact formula for Mr. Rooter, the BioChoice ES.
And now, it doesn't have a great taste to it, but it's not poison. So if
Sure.
But because I think I did it on television one time, opened the cap up, stuck my finger in it, tasted it, went, ooh, didn't taste good, but I'm still here. It didn't cause any problem. Doesn't have much flavor to it. It really doesn't. I wouldn't recommend drinking it as a regular diet, but it's not poison. It's just something that helps promote the good bacteria and helps the bad bacteria go away, I guess, because there are bad bacteria in there you don't want. And what does the bad bacteria do that you don't want? Does it help build wax up and waste? Is that what it does?
Sure. Well, if you was to look into a drain pipe, the buildup, the bacteria buildup on the walls, even inside a home that may be on city sewer, it's kind of a white chalky look to it. It's
Right.
not really sludgy. There are different bacteria that are sludgy, like in a kitchen drain, you're going to find that, but mostly in the main drain, you'll find that white chalky bacteria that builds up on the pipe. And it's not so much now. Over time, that will close up like an artery
Right.
and close completely up. But for the most part, things stick to that because it's sticky. So hair and particles will stick to that, and that will cause your premature stoppage. So that's the bad bacteria. The good bacteria goes in, and that's just a food source on it, and it multiplies and multiplies and eats all the bad stuff.
Because I've seen that when I used to live in a double wide years ago, and we had put another one in and had to move a trailer to put our double wide in. The old drain line that went to the septic tank, we replaced it, and big old chunks of this stuff that was clogging just fell out of it, and it looked like wax is what it looked like.
Sure.
But I guess that's what it was, to my opinion. It was wax and fats and things like that. But that's the bad bacteria you're talking about. And it literally almost clogged the whole drain up.
That's right.
It was a 3.5, 4-inch pipe, I guess, going down, and about, I'd say, 3/4 of an inch all the way around the inside of it was clogged up with this waxy white substance that when it dried out, it just broke off. But you don't have a chance to dry out when it's hooked up to a house. Now, when it's sitting out in the yard, it'll dry out on you. You can see what it's doing. But that's the stuff you're talking about. That stuff.
That's right. So we have a couple of ways that we deal with that. Once we camera your line, we'll discover that that's in there, and we'll take it's kind of a fancy pressure washer. We call it a jetter, and we do a procedure called hydro scrubbing, and we will break that down and flush it on through the system and get those pipes good and clean, almost as if you had your heart bypass surgery. We'll get those pipes good and clean for you, get it all cleared out, and then we introduce the BioChoice to take any residual film off the piping and to prevent that from coming back again in the future.
That sounds like very good preventive maintenance. It sounds like something that needs to be done even on, I'd recommend probably something like this at least scoped out once a year, having them just check out what you have as far as preventive maintenance to see if you have a problem developing. Would you recommend that, or is that
Sure,
okay?
Sure. You should keep an eye on it at least once a year. That bacteria will get aggressive, and grow, and it can become a problem in 3 or more years if left unattended. And all of our Advantage Plan customers, they take advantage of that. We have a clean out installed for them, which is an access to their main drain. And on an annual basis, we'll come out and we'll camera up into their home and down to their street and see if they have anything like that going on that we need to address.
That sounds like good preventive maintenance right there, and that's what this show is about, addressing preventive maintenance, whether it's on your home or your automobile. Scott, I want to thank you for calling, and they can reach you at 763-2001. And you can explain more about your Advantage Plan if they call. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right, sounds good. Give Mr. Reuter a call, Mr. Scott Hobbs at Mr. Reuter at 763-2001, and tell him the Master Auto Technician sent you. And we'll be back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye, everybody.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.